Whenever you start a new project in Maya, you want to begin by setting up a file system. So when you go to New, if you needed a new scene, you could go New Scene. If you open it up, normally it defaults to a new scene. You want to go to Project Window. This is the first thing you should do anytime you start a new project. When you go to Project Window, you're going to get a menu like this. It'll say Current Project Default. If you had a name for this project, and let's say I want to call this Character because this is a demo I'll be doing later, you would put the name of the project and you would put which folder you want to save it to. So for me, I normally save stuff to my D drive. You'll see that I have a ton of stuff. And I will actually put this in 3D work. I had one that was this bunny character demo. We'll get to that later. But I always make a new folder for whatever new project I've started. And I select. Now it's going to make a couple folders here, and I want to talk about what those folders' purpose are. The scenes are where it's going to automatically save your scenes, and if you render anything, it will save them in images. Even if it's a video, it saves them in images. Now, if I have images I want to use as a reference, let's say I want to put them in the background so I have a guide to model with, or later on, I want to use them as textures to put on my 3D models. If I have, like, let's say I want to make Earth, and so I want to get a picture of Earth and just tell it to go around a sphere so that sphere now looks like Earth. I could put those in source images. Now, a lot of these you may not use initially. So render data, that's where it's going to save the information for your render data. Clips depending, I do have students that put their objects or in clips or movies. When they change that, it does default to images, unless they've changed that in this version. Sounds, if you want to bring in sounds, you can put them there. And then autosave. This is a very important feature, and we'll talk about that in a second. Autosaves will save here. So if you forget to save and it crashes, if you set up autosave, it will save it for you. So you accept, and it's going to make all these folders for you, and you'll be able to find them on your drive. So if I were to go, and I know you can't see this right now, but I don't want to necessarily have you have to sort through every folder I own. So if I open my D drive 3D work, this is where that folder is now. It made a character folder, and it will save everything I do in these folders. You should get in the habit of saving everything you want, even if it's references in these folders, because if you start doing group projects or you have to move it to another computer, it's much easier if everything's in one folder. If it's in another location and you just move that folder, it's going to tell you that you have broken links and it won't show you everything. So let's talk about that autosave and a couple other things that you will find in Windows. So if I go to Windows, Preferences, it's actually Windows, Setting Preferences, and then go to Preferences. So again, it keeps all loading on my second screen. There are a lot of settings you can adjust in here. And the first one I like going to is this File and Projects. And the reason I like going here is because autosave is not enabled on default. And I find this is one students really like enabling and teachers like enabling because, let's face it, sometimes our school computers crash. So we go to autosave and we can click enable. Now, you can set how often you want it to save, if you want it to save every 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. And then right now it's set that it's just going to save a new project every 10 minutes for as many projects as it can. You can also limit your autosaves, and you could do just save 10 projects. Now that doesn't mean it will save the first 10 and then stop. Once it's saved 10, it'll start resaving over the oldest versions. So if you're someone who thinks, well, maybe I'm new to it and I made a mistake yesterday and I want to keep every version just so I can always go back in case I do make a mistake, you wouldn't want to turn on limit autosave. But if you're a little more familiar with it, or you're limited on how much hard drive space you have, you would probably want to limit autosaves. And then once you set those, you can hit save.